Hi, I'm Jamie with The Saving Secret, where I help you become more intentional with your money. In today's video, I'm going to be going over a very unique index fund that actually has a zero expense ratio. It's one that I personally have in my portfolio, and it mimics the S&P 500. So if you're investing in the S&P 500, I want to talk about Fidelity's zero large cap index fund that has a zero expense ratio that you might want to consider investing in if you want to invest in the S&P 500. I'll go through some of the details. I'll show you some of the details that make sense of why it might make sense to buy an index fund, or if you like the comparable ETFs, so you're not going to want to miss it. All right, so before we get started, I just want to make this caveat that this is for educational purposes only. You make your own investing advice, talk to professionals if you want to know more, but I will talk a little bit about what I do and what I've learned, and a little bit about the financial products that Fidelity offers that I think is fantastic. No, I'm not being compensated for Fidelity. No, I do not work for Fidelity, but I think they offer some great products. So to really understand how this product existed and where we come from, is there's a huge growing movement that's called the FIRE community, or financially independent retire early. And this has been going on for over 10 years. It's been going on for quite some time, and they've been growing momentum. And a lot of times it's buy the S&P 500 consistently, buy, hold, watch it grow over time, invest in low cost index funds, and you can eventually reach it. So I'm not going to talk a whole bunch about the FIRE movement, but I'm going to talk about the financial products that they buy. A lot of times is is just the S&P 500. And you can buy that through an ETF, or you can buy that through an index fund. So a couple of years ago, Fidelity really wanted to change the game, because this little investing company called Robinhood came out and said there's no cost to buy and sell stocks, and they kind of changed the game. And so what Fidelity did is they wanted to not just match them, but overtake it to the next level. And so what Fidelity did is they actually introduced zero expense cost ratios index funds. They also offered zero to open an account, no minimums, no fees, and 24/7 live customer support. So Fidelity said, thank you, Robinhood, for kind of taking it to the next step, but we'll take it over from here. And so Fidelity is a huge platform. They manage trillions of dollars in assets, and they are one of the big guys from investing. And so again, these index funds have been around since September of 2018. And so we almost have about 4 years of data to see how they performed compared to their other index funds that measure the same thing. So Fidelity zero large cap index funds, the one that we're going to be talking about today. And again, one of the things that's important to note is you cannot buy this financial product unless it's within a Fidelity brokerage account or Fidelity IRA or something like that. So if you're wanting to do that, I have videos that you can check out that show you how to open those. Again, no fees, no minimums, no account minimums to open up. So it's very simple. But let's look at these Fidelity large cap index fund. So looking at the Fidelity large cap index fund, the goal is to measure what it's been doing, the S&P 500 essentially performance over the last over time. And so this fund, like I said, has been around since 2018. It's done a great job. It's got a little over $5.6 billion worth of assets. For those who are interested in the Fidelity FX AIX, its counterpart that has a very low expense ratio at 0.015. It's actually the same exact fund manager that's managing this one as well as managing that one. If you look at the performance, you can see that year to date it hasn't performed well, but that's not necessarily indicative. That's not purpose of the fund itself, but more so of the S&P 500. So again, this expense ratio is zero. You will not find it anywhere else, which is pretty cool. But if you again look at the overall rating, it's a 4-star. It's got above average returns with no expense ratio. So very kind of interesting. So this dashboard here, I'll walk through it. Again, when you look at what is the role, the purpose of it is to provide financial results that correspond to the total return of stocks in a large cap U.S. companies. They talk about large caps are considered to be the largest 500 companies. Again, they use $10 billion as market cap as kind of the start to look at. Obviously, there's always risks in investing, so you want to make sure that you can buy and hold. That's one of the purposes of index funds. It's a great strategy to buy and hold for the long term. Looking at it, how it compares, if we look at the average return of 1 year and 3 years, because again, this is how long it's been around for, it's done quite well compared to the Fidelity US large cap as well as to the large blend. So you can see that it's done quite well over the long term. If you had the hypothetical $10,000 and bought it and held it, it would be worth a little over $16,600. So again, doing quite well. You look at the returns calendar year, year over year, a little bit better than the US Fidelity, basically the same, and a little bit worse in 2020, but again, very mimicking this for great financial performances. You look at how does it stack up before taxes and after taxes. It really performs quite well, again, helping with those low expense ratios. The cumulative returns for this year have not been so well, but again, it's more about the category than the index fund itself. It does have dividends. It does not have quarterly dividends. It has annual dividends that we'll look at later. It's more at December it gives you those, but it has a great Lipper group. They make different rankings. Out of 3,000 funds in a 1 year mark, it was rated 235 in the growth and income category. So pretty, not just low income, low expense ratio or zero expense ratio, but actually performs quite well in different ratings and different rankings for other third parties. So if you look down here, what breaks up the portfolio? How does it look? It pretty much mimics what you'd see in other index funds that mimic the S&P 500, whether it's an index fund or an ETF. It shows that it's definitely large companies that are a blend, more value and growth. Again, like I said, a little bit more than $10 billion worth of market value in these companies. Almost a third of the companies are the top 10 that you've heard of. You can take a look at some of those. Again, it's following, these are all US-based company. You're not getting exposure to the international market. It's been around, like I said, since 2018. And it's FNILX, which I think is a great symbol name, because if you look at NIL, which is also code for zero, and you put an F for Fidelity and X for index, and you got it, FNILX. Kind of makes sense there. Here's the dividends we were talking about that they get there. There's very no minimums. This is what I said. It's just a really easy way to get started. And so I think it's great. They also talk about the price history by month. So again, this is just a great way to get involved in the stock market if you're looking to buy something that has no cost, no expense ratio, and just really want to get involved in there. But let me know what your thoughts are. Do you prefer to invest in index funds or ETFs? I know people love VOO or IVV, or do you want to go with the more established FXAIX? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. Is this an index that you're mimicking or trying to invest in, the S&P 500, or do you like the total market? Or do you have a different brokerage account that you look into? Let me know what your questions are. I'd love to help you on your financial journey be more intentional with your money. Feel free to check out some of these other videos that I've done to help you be more intentional with your money. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.